Start with a powerful real-life moment. A displaced mother searching for water, a school hit by an airstrike, or children fleeing violence. Establish immediate emotional tension. This is Sudan today, a nation fighting for survival. Scene 2. What is happening in Sudan? 2 minutes. Introduce the core conflict. SAF, Sudanese Army, versus RSF, paramilitary. Explain that the war started in April 2023 and has spiraled into one of the world's worst humanitarian crises. Briefly outline current chaos: violence, displacement, hunger, collapsed institutions. Scene 3. How did Sudan reach this point? 3 minutes. Go back to 2019 after the fall of dictator Omar al-Bashir. Explain transition government, power sharing, and why the military and RSF clashed, mainly over integration of RSF into the army. Show how political tension turned into a nationwide civil war. Scene 4. Spread of the conflict across the country. 2 minutes. Describe how fighting expanded from Khartoum to Darfur, Kordofan, and other provinces. Mention ethnic tensions reigniting in Darfur. Explain why the geography of the conflict makes civilians extremely vulnerable. Scene 5. Humanitarian disaster. 3 minutes. Show the civilian suffering. Over 12 million displaced, hunger and famine conditions, collapsed hospitals and clinics, spread of disease. Focus especially on the plight of children, pregnant women, and the elderly. Visual scenes: camps, overcrowded shelters, empty hospitals, destroyed neighborhoods. Scene 6. Recent escalations. 2 minutes. Highlight dramatic recent events. Drone strike on a kindergarten, mass civilian casualties in Kalogi, attacks on aid workers and medical staff. Show how food markets, farms, and supply lines are being destroyed. Explain why civilians are trapped in frontline zones. Scene 7. Voices from the ground. 2 minutes. Insert personal stories, composite or reported. A child who lost family. A mother giving birth with no doctor. An aid worker unable to reach starving villages. These humanize the statistics. Scene 8. Why the world should care. 2 minutes. Discuss regional consequences. Refugees, instability, border tensions. Explain how famine, disease, and mass displacement could escalate into a regional catastrophe. Question why global attention is low despite the scale of suffering. Scene 9. What needs to happen? 2 minutes. Call for ceasefire, protection of civilians. Safe humanitarian corridors, international pressure to stop arms supply, long-term rebuilding and reconciliation, balanced tone. Firm but hopeful. Scene 10. Closing message. 1 minute. Return to the story's opening character or moment. End with a hopeful note about resilience and the need for the world not to look away. Final emotional appeal. Sudan's people deserve peace, safety, and a future. Their story must be heard. If you want, I can now turn this outline into a full 20-minute script with scenes, visuals, and narration. Scene 1. Opening shock, 0 o'clock to 1 o'clock. Visuals: slow drone shots of burnt villages, destroyed homes, dusty roads, crying children, women carrying jerrycans. Sound: soft, haunting music, distant echoes of conflict. Narrator: imagine waking up to the sound of gunfire. Your home is burning. Your children are crying. You run, with nothing but fear, into a future you cannot see. This is not a scene from a movie. This is Sudan today. A nation torn apart by a war that has shattered millions of lives. A crisis so vast, so brutal, The world has barely begun to understand it. Fade to black. Title appears: Sudan, a nation under siege. Scene 2. Setting the stage, 1 o'clock to 3 o'clock. Visuals: map of Sudan glowing. Scenes from Khartoum: destroyed buildings, civilians fleeing. Narrator: since April 2023, Sudan has been locked in a deadly struggle between two powerful forces, the Sudanese Armed Forces and the Rapid Support Forces. What began as a power struggle at the top spiraled into one of the world's largest humanitarian crises. Over half the population is now in desperate need of food, water, and safety. Hospitals are ruins. Entire cities are empty. Families are scattered across deserts and borders. And every day, the situation grows worse. Scene 3. How did Sudan reach this point? 3 o'clock to 6 o'clock. Visuals: archival footage of 2019 protests, fall of al-Bashir, transitional government, military parades. To understand today's war, we must go back to 2019. Sudanese people rose up, demanding freedom from decades of dictatorship. Their courage brought down Omar al-Bashir, a man who ruled for 30 years. But with his fall came a fragile transition, a delicate balance of power shared between the army and the RSF. Two groups with different goals, different loyalties, and growing distrust. The spark? A plan to integrate the RSF into the national army. What should have been a step toward unity instead ignited a conflict that exploded across the nation. Scene 4. How the war spread, 6 o'clock to 8 o'clock. Visuals: map showing the spread of the conflict from Khartoum to Darfur, Kordofan. Satellite images of destruction. Narrator: the fighting began in the capital, Khartoum. Streets that once carried life became battlegrounds. Jet strikes, artillery, snipers. The city became unrecognizable. But the war did not stay there. It spread fast. Darfur, a region already scarred by 2 decades of violence, exploded again. Kordofan, Blue Nile, Gezira. Sudan became a nation engulfed in flames. Scene 5. Humanitarian collapse, 8 o'clock to 11 o'clock. Visuals: displacement camps, lines of people waiting for water, empty hospitals, starving children. This war is not only about bullets and bombs, it is about hunger. It is about disease. It is about millions of ordinary people trapped between armies without food, medicine, electricity, or shelter. More than 12 million Sudanese have fled their homes. Children wander alone after losing their families. Mothers give birth with no doctors, no clean water, no medicine. Hospitals are looted or destroyed. Doctors are gone. Electricity is gone. Entire communities are left with nothing but the will to survive, and for many, even that is fading. Scene 6. Recent horrors, 11 o'clock to 13 o'clock. Visuals: news clips of strikes on schools, hospitals, destroyed towns, crying survivors. In recent months, the violence has escalated to new horrors. A kindergarten bombed, dozens of children killed in seconds. A hospital attacked, infants and critical patients unable to escape. Aid workers, risking everything, are trapped, targeted, or killed. Farms burned, markets destroyed. Food supplies collapsing. With every passing day, the line between battlefield and home becomes thinner, until there is no line at all. Scene 7. Personal. Stories, 13 o'clock to 15 o'clock. Visuals: close-ups of faces, testimonies, tears, resilience. Narrator: behind every statistic is a human life. A mother named Amal, who walked for days with her newborn child, praying the baby would survive one more night. A young boy, Adam, who lost his parents in a strike and now wanders camp to camp alone. A doctor, Sarah, working in a makeshift clinic using flashlights, torn bedsheets, and donated medicines, treating hundreds a day because there is no one else left. These are the voices of Sudan. Voices the world needs to hear. Scene 8. Why the world must care. 15 o'clock to 17 o'clock. Visuals, refugee crossings, border camps, regional maps, UN warnings. Narrator. The crisis in Sudan is not isolated. It is reshaping an entire region. Millions are fleeing into neighboring countries already struggling with their own challenges. Food shortages, disease outbreaks, and instability threaten to spill far beyond Sudan's borders. This is not just a Sudanese tragedy. It is a global one, a crisis that demands attention, compassion, and action. Scene 9. What needs to happen? 17 o'clock to 19 o'clock. Visuals, peace talks, aid shipments, community rebuilding, images of hope. Narrator. Sudan needs more than sympathy. It needs a ceasefire, one that is respected, not broken. It needs safe corridors so food, water, and medicine can reach those in need. It needs global pressure to stop the flow of weapons and support real peace negotiations. And above all, Sudan needs the world to watch, to care, to refuse to look away. Scene 10. Closing message, 19 o'clock to 20 o'clock. Visuals, return to opening scenes, slow motion of Sudanese people living, hoping, surviving. When this story began, we met a family running for their lives. They are just one of millions. But Sudan is more than its suffering. It is a nation of strength, culture, resilience, and hope. Hope that one day this war will end. Hope that children will play without fear. Hope that families will reunite. And hope that the world will finally listen. Sudan's story is not over. And together, we can ensure it is not forgotten, fade out, end.